Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. What I'm about to share could completely shift the way you see women, attraction, and even yourself. Now, pay close attention, because most men over 35 are blind to this, and it's sabotaging their love lives without them even realizing it. Here's the brutal truth. Women rarely tell you what they want directly. And when they do, your instincts, your ego, your experience, often misread the signals entirely. You think a smile, a laugh, a glance means one thing, but it could mean something entirely different. And here's where older men fall into the trap. We tend to interpret warmth as flirtation, politeness as interest, and curiosity as desire. But attraction is never polite. Attraction is subtle, raw, and almost always misread by those who rely on surface cues. Let me ask you something. Have you ever walked away from a woman thinking she was into you, only to find out she wasn't interested at all? Or the opposite, ignored a woman thinking she was just friendly, only to realize later she was dropping signs of desire that you completely missed? That's not coincidence, that's a pattern, and it's one that older men often repeat because we've been conditioned to read signals through our own experiences, rather than through psychology. Attraction is a language, and most men haven't studied it. Women communicate on a frequency most men don't even hear. They're not overt, they're layered, emotional, and instinct-driven. A lingering touch, a playful tease, a subtle change in tone, these are the real signs. And the reason so many older men get it wrong isn't because they lack charm or confidence. It's because they trust the wrong signals. They trust what's easy to see, what's socially acceptable, what flatters their ego, rather than what's genuinely happening in the interaction. And here's what nobody tells you. The signs you think mean attraction might actually mean disinterest, testing, or even manipulation. Misreading these cues isn't just embarrassing. It can cost you relationships, intimacy, and even the chance to connect with women who are genuinely interested in you. This is why awareness is everything. If you want to attract women who truly desire you, you have to learn to see beyond surface-level signals and understand the psychological undercurrents driving every glance, every laugh, every word. By the end of this video, you'll see women differently. You'll understand the subtle markers of desire that most men overlook, and more importantly, you'll stop making the mistakes that older men keep repeating. Here's something most men never realize. Women often communicate desire through behavior, not words. And it's not just subtle, it's microscopic. A tilt of the head, a fleeting touch on her own hair, the way she leans toward you when you speak. These aren't gestures to be ignored. But here's the problem. Older men frequently interpret these cues through the lens of what they want, rather than what's actually being offered. They see friendliness and label it as sexual interest. They see curiosity and label it as commitment potential. And in doing so, they completely misread the landscape of attraction. Let's get clear. The most misread signs are the ones that feel safe. Women know exactly how to give men just enough hope to keep them engaged. That glance across the room could be interest, or could be curiosity, a test, or even a social habit. That laugh at your joke could be genuine amusement, or could be politeness masking disinterest. The older you get, the more your experience deceives you into thinking you just know when a woman is attracted. But experience without understanding psychology is a recipe for misreading signals. Here's an example most men fall for. A woman touching her neck or collarbone while talking to you. Many men see that and think, she's attracted. But in reality, she might be self-soothing, unconsciously signaling comfort or nervousness, not sexual desire. And when you act on these misreads, leaning in too soon, escalating too quickly, you trigger discomfort, not connection. She may retreat, and you're left confused, wondering what went wrong. This is why understanding the underlying psychology is crucial. Every gesture has a meaning, and it rarely aligns with what your instincts tell you. Another trap. Women mirror behavior. If you lean in, they lean in. If you joke, they joke. Many men interpret mirroring as deep attraction, when in fact it's a social tool, a way for her to test your confidence and social intelligence. Men who misread this often overinvest emotionally too early. They think a shared laugh equals a green light for intimacy. But the truth is, attraction is never a straight line. It's a dance of testing, gauging, and subtle escalation. And the women who play it well are almost always several steps ahead in their awareness. Here's the harsh reality. Older men miss signals because they assume attraction will be obvious. They expect fireworks, overt gestures, declarations, but attraction doesn't announce itself loudly. It whispers, it teases, it nudges, and if you aren't trained to listen, you miss the cues entirely. By learning to recognize behavior patterns instead of words or surface-level cues, you begin to see women clearly, without ego, without assumption. You start to understand who's genuinely interested, who's curious, and who's simply keeping you in orbit for validation. That's where the real power lies. Here's something most men refuse to admit. Women don't just communicate with words or body language. They test your presence, confidence, and emotional stability in ways that are almost invisible. And older men, especially, fall into the trap of taking these tests personally. A woman might challenge your opinion, tease you, or even contradict you, not out of malice, but to gauge how secure you are. Misreading this as disinterest or hostility is one of the biggest mistakes men make, because it signals exactly the opposite of what's true. A woman who's interested will push boundaries subtly to see if you hold your ground. Consider this. She might say something provocative just to watch your reaction. A casual, "Are you always this confident, or is it just with me?" could feel like a dig, but in reality, it's a powerful signal. She's noticing how you respond under pressure, how your ego reacts, how secure you are. Most men respond either by retreating or overcompensating, both of which destroy attraction. But the man who understands the psychology sees it as a green light. She's engaged, she's curious, and she's subtly inviting you to demonstrate your value. Another classic misread involves attention patterns. Women often drop breadcrumbs of interest, not all at once, not in obvious ways. She might like your social media posts inconsistently, initiate conversations and then pull back, or mirror your energy in selective moments. Most men interpret inconsistency as disinterest, frustration, or rejection. But in reality, this is a woman's natural rhythm. She's testing how much you notice, how patient you are, and whether you can tolerate ambiguity. Men who panic at these patterns are perceived as needy, reactive, and unattractive. Men who remain calm, confident, and observant gain a huge psychological advantage. Then there's the proximity test, how close she allows you to be, physically or emotionally. A woman who leans in during conversation, even subtly, is signaling curiosity. But if you misread it as neutrality or politeness, you miss the opportunity. Conversely, men who misinterpret closeness as a full green light often push too hard, triggering withdrawal instead of attraction. Women communicate interest in layers, and only those who understand these layers can decode them without error. Finally, older men often overlook the energy signals, the feeling you get when she's drawn to you. It's not words, not smiles, not touches. It's the vibe, the tension, the subtle shift in the room when you're present. Most men dismiss this because they rely too much on concrete cues, missing the invisible force that truly drives desire. Understanding these hidden tests and energy shifts transforms the way you interact with women. You stop guessing, you stop overthinking. You begin responding in ways that build tension, attraction, and connection rather than destroying it with misreads. Now let's address the misreads that are most destructive, the ones that make a woman lose interest before a man even realizes what's happening. Older men consistently fall into this trap because they rely on ego-driven interpretation rather than psychological reality. You see, the gestures that seem positive to you can actually signal the opposite if you misread context, tone, or timing. And when that happens, you're not just missing attraction, you're creating aversion. Take compliments, for example. Men often believe that giving frequent praise builds attraction. They tell a woman she looks beautiful, smart, or sophisticated, assuming this will make her desire them more. But here's the truth. If it's overdone or delivered without attunement, it communicates neediness, dependence, or a lack of confidence. Women feel it immediately. What you intended as connection can be perceived as desperation, and attraction evaporates. Older men misread these dynamics because they're focused on validation rather than understanding psychological impact. Another deadly misread involves chasing attention. If she's not immediately responsive to your texts or calls, most men panic and escalate. They send longer messages, more compliments, more pressure. But women are wired to test consistency and self-possession. When you chase, you violate the unspoken rule of value. Attraction grows when you maintain presence without desperation. Misreading silence as disinterest rather than a test is one of the biggest mistakes older men make. It signals insecurity, which is the fastest way to destroy attraction. Then there's physical cues. Misinterpreting them can be catastrophic. A touch on the arm, a laugh at your joke, or leaning slightly closer may feel like an invitation. But if the emotional and social context isn't aligned, acting too quickly can backfire. Many older men mistake curiosity for desire, and impulsive moves trigger withdrawal. She isn't rejecting you to be cruel. She's recalibrating her comfort and testing your emotional intelligence. Respond correctly, and attraction deepens. Respond incorrectly, and it collapses entirely. Let's talk about the subtle power of conversation dynamics. Women often mirror your tone and energy, but older men misread mirroring as attraction. In reality, mirroring is a tool for testing emotional intelligence, patience, and confidence. If you overinterpret it, you reveal your need for validation. If you underinterpret it, you miss her interest. The key is balance. Notice, respond calmly, and escalate only when the psychological undercurrent is clear. Finally, older men misread mixed signals as contradictions rather than strategic engagement. A woman may seem distant one moment, warm the next. Most men panic or try to force clarity, breaking the flow of attraction. But women naturally fluctuate. This is part of how desire is built. Misreading it destroys tension. Understanding it cultivates irresistible allure. Now we get to the signals almost every older man misses, the hidden cues of sexual and emotional attraction that women rarely make obvious. These are the moments that feel fleeting, almost invisible, but they're loaded with meaning. Most men focus on what they see, but women communicate desire through what they don't say and what they subtly reveal. Misreading these cues is why men think they're in the game, only to find themselves on the sidelines. Start with eye contact. A woman who locks eyes with you slightly longer than usual isn't just being polite. She's assessing your presence, testing your confidence, and gauging attraction. But the subtlety lies in the micro-expressions. Tiny smiles, dilated pupils, slight nods. Men often dismiss these because they expect obvious signals. Older men particularly misread polite glances as neutral or non-committal, missing the invisible pull of interest entirely. Then there's tone of voice. A softening, a teasing cadence, slight laughter at your quirks. These are emotional breadcrumbs, and they're rarely random. Women use tone to signal engagement and test emotional response. Most men, however, hear the words and not the emotion, assuming it's just social nicety. The truth is, tone often carries more weight than the content of conversation. Misreading it means missing genuine desire while chasing illusions of attraction elsewhere. Another subtle sign is behavioral mirroring, but not just obvious gestures. It's the unconscious copying of energy, posture, or rhythm. She shifts when you shift, laughs when you laugh, even adopts similar hand movements. To the untrained eye, this seems trivial, but psychologically, it's a signal of comfort and subconscious interest. Misread it, and you mistake comfort for neutrality. Or worse, you act on it too aggressively and destroy attraction. Then there's investment of time and attention. Women don't casually give attention to men they aren't interested in. If she prioritizes your presence, shares details of her life, or engages you in meaningful conversation, these are subtle signs of attraction. Older men often dismiss this, thinking she's just friendly or I'm overthinking it, missing the emotional thread being woven right in front of them. Finally, women often test emotional stability in small, almost imperceptible ways. They observe how you react to slight disagreements, playful teasing, or unexpected situations. Most men misinterpret these tests as rejection or challenge, rather than the opportunity they truly are. Proof of interest. How you respond, calm, confident, composed, can dramatically increase attraction. Misreading these cues is not just a minor mistake. It's a repeated pattern that keeps you invisible in her mind, no matter how experienced you think you are. Understanding these hidden signals transforms your interactions. You stop guessing, you start seeing, you start responding in ways that create tension, desire, and genuine emotional connection, instead of destroying it with misreads. Here's the ultimate truth most older men never fully grasp. The line between attraction and disinterest is razor thin, and it's constantly shifting. Women don't hand you clear signals. They hand you tests, calibrations, and invitations, all in subtle layers. Misreading them isn't just a mistake. It's the reason men stay stuck, frustrated, and invisible in their dating lives. Understanding this is not optional. It's survival in the modern dating landscape. The first step is learning to detach your ego from interpretation. Most older men interpret signals through the lens of validation: a smile, she likes me; a laugh, I'm charming. But attraction isn't about what flatters you, it's about what signals desire. Women notice hesitation, insecurity, and overanalysis more than they notice charm or experience. Misreading a single cue because your ego wanted it to mean something else can destroy weeks of potential connection. Confidence isn't just showing up, it's reading accurately and responding deliberately. Next is mastering timing and escalation. Misreads often occur because men move too fast, too slow, or respond to superficial cues rather than underlying desire. A lingering glance isn't permission to escalate physically. A playful tease isn't confirmation of emotional availability. Older men frequently react impulsively, and that kills attraction instantly. The subtle art is to observe, test, and respond in alignment with her signals, never forcing the connection, but never missing the opportunity either. Another critical insight: women signal both sexual and emotional interest differently, and misreading either is fatal. Sexual cues are often fleeting, almost invisible: slight touches, shifts in posture, vocal softening. Emotional cues are consistent, layered, and relational, sharing stories, prioritizing attention, subtle tests of patience. Men who can decode both simultaneously have a psychological edge that almost guarantees attraction. Those who misread even one set of signals remain trapped in frustration and confusion. Finally, the secret no one tells you: women respect clarity, confidence, and presence over anything else. You don't have to guess endlessly or overanalyze minor behaviors. You don't have to win her attention by chasing or pleasing. You simply need to observe deeply, respond with precision, and maintain emotional authority. Misreads disappear when you stop relying on instinct alone and start understanding the psychology driving every smile, glance, and touch. So here's the takeaway: attraction is a language. Women speak it constantly, but most men don't listen. They interpret, they hope, they assume. If you learn to see the invisible cues, recognize tests, and respond with calm confidence, you transform your dating life. You stop being misread. You stop missing opportunities. You start becoming the man who women notice, desire, and emotionally invest in. This knowledge isn't just power, it's freedom. Freedom from confusion, frustration, and repeated mistakes. And now, you have the insight to finally read her mind, understand her psychology, and create genuine attraction that lasts.